That's Jack Murphy Stadium. It looks like a small crowd gathering here tonight as the Padres get ready to play the Pittsburgh Pirates in the final game and what is going to be the rubber match of their 3-game series. Jim Leland out there, the veteran Pirates manager, and his club is not hitting. However, they have started winning, at least out here on the West Coast. They had a 4-game winning streak interrupted just last night. Here's the batting order for the Pirates. It'll be Al Martin leading off in center field. The veteran Jay Bell at shortstop. Orlando Merced now in right field. Jeff King is off to a hot start with the RBI production, hitting cleanup. It'll be Big Mark Johnson at first base. It'll be Pegues in left field. Mark Perrin, another veteran, is the catcher. Carlos Garcia at second base. And on the hill, the man who right now is looking like the Pirates' best, left-hander Denny Nagel. Pitching tonight for the San Diego Padres, who have yet to take the field, that man, Andy Benes. He was a 15-game winner the year before last, but he has not yet won this year. However, in his most recent start, he did pitch 8 shutout innings, his best outing of the 1995 season. And he's about now to lead the Padres onto the field. And the remarkable thing, again, the numbers we mentioned during our open to the telecast, the fact that he has gone 6-22 since early September of 1993.
Well, when you take a look at Andy Benes, he has 4 pitches that he uses. That is the 4-seam fastball. He throws a 2-seam fastball, throws a slider, and he throws a split-fingered fastball, which he calls a changeup, uses as his changeup. It may be more like a forkball than really a split-fingered fastball.
Andy Benes saying that he had some mechanical problems, so we asked him to illustrate for us with the telestrator just what those problems were.
It's very important for me to get my body weight square over the rubber when I'm in my delivery. On the right side, I'm very square. On the left side, my weight is having a tendency to drift forward as I start towards home plate. At my kick, I'm square over the rubber here. And on the left side, my weight is going forward, which will cause me to have my left shoulder drift towards the right field side of home plate. And I will pull the ball down and in. And as a power pitcher, it's very important to really follow through and finish my pitch. On the right side, I finished. On the left side, I didn't finish quite as much. I forgot. 7-0.
All right, so it was very difficult to tell from those pictures just what he was talking about there. We're taking his word for it, though, Joe.
Yeah, it was a little over my head, John.
I asked Brad Osmus, who ordinarily is the catcher, although Brian Johnson is in there tonight, and Osmus said the same thing that we're saying, Joe. He said, well, I'm not sure that I could see the difference, but he said he was experimenting with a different kind of a slider, and in his last start, he came back with the old slider, the real tight one that kind of dips down almost like a split-fingered pitch. And you think that's a very important pitch for Andy Benes. So we'll keep a close eye on him tonight. He's got 1 strike here to Al Martin. And that fastball is a little bit inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Al Martin is hitting .221 for the Pirates with a home run and 2 runs batted in. He comes from a real sports family from Southern California. And that was the slider, and the count goes to 2-1. Al Martin from a family where his uncle, Rod Martin, you may recall, was a star for the NFL's Oakland Raiders and later the Los Angeles Raiders. 12 years a linebacker for the Raiders. 92-mile-an-hour fastball. It is 3-1.
And Rod was a good friend of mine. Nice guy and a hard-nosed football player.
You see, Andy Benes was off to just a terrible start, but a strong outing his last time. Got no decision, though. This one is playable at third base for the veteran Ken Caminetti. And the former Astro takes it, and 1 away here. Benes comes back to get Al Martin.
And speaking of defense, Caminetti and Cedeno on the left side, along with Steve Finley, who's not in the lineup tonight, are the guys that they went out to get to shore up their defense, and they've done a good job with that. Caminetti, a very fine defensive third baseman, and Cedeno, a good shortstop. They felt that their weakness last year defensively really hurt their pitching staff.
Steve Finley just getting a night off. He's played in every game with the left-hander going. Giving him tonight off. This is Jay Bell with a one-hopper to Caminetti. I just like to see Caminetti throw the ball. I hope he hit a lot of ground balls to him tonight.
Well, he has one of the best arms ever at third base, and he usually likes to show it off. So
Jay Bell,
if I had one, I would too.
Yeah. Jay Bell quickly retired. Jay Bell, one of the veterans, one of the recognizable names from the Pirates' big years with Bonilla and Bonds and Drabek and everybody. And Bell is off to a terrible start. Here is Orlando Merced hitting .288. He's another holdover. I mean, Merced was kind of overshadowed by those big guys, but he was always a very good hitter. Now playing every day for the Pirates. And that one is back out of play. Jay Bell, veteran, and unlike Bonds and Bonilla, Drabek, all of the guys who ended up leaving Pittsburgh, Jay Bell decided that he wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. He likes it there. His family makes their year-round home there. 2 down, nobody on as Orlando Merced stands in. Year before last, he hit .313.
John, I think one of the reasons that Bell wanted to stay there is because they paid him. Bonds and Bonilla and Drabek and Smiley, they did not pay, so they were gone.
It makes a difference.
Yes.
Venice, another 92-mile-an-hour fastball. And the count is 3-1 to Orlando Merced with Jeff King on deck. Merced from San Juan, Puerto Rico. He's had pretty fair success against Venice in the past. Looks like Merced's kind of pulling out there against the big right-hander. 3-2. One thing they say about Venice, Joey, he's not afraid to come inside.
Well, that's true. Well, I think all good pitchers have to pitch inside, and especially if you have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, you should always establish the inside part of the plate as yours. I don't think Bob Gibson ever had problems establishing the inside part of the plate for himself.
The inside, the middle,
right,
for most of the outside. Well, it's ball 4 to Orlando Merced. So with 2 down, the Pirates get a base runner, and that will bring up Jeff King. Now, Jeff King has spent much of his career having to hear the complaints that he has been an underachiever, a former #1 draft choice. But now this very quiet professional has started to put together some big numbers. He is one of the league leaders in RBIs now. He got 3 homers and 23 driven in. That's in only 22 games.
John, I think one of the reasons he's doing so much better now is because he has remained healthy. He's had back problems off and on throughout his major league career, and that's one of the reasons I don't think he ever lived up to his potential, at least what they expected of him.
Out of the University of Arkansas. I was impressed as he takes a strike. The year before last, he hit only 9 home runs, and this is after Bonds and Bonilla were gone, and he drove in 98 runs with that, with a .295 average. So you know the guy must be pretty good with the men in scoring position to do that without hitting home runs. He wasn't driving himself in. 2-1 the count. King, on the other hand, is facing a guy that he may have nightmares about, Andy Bennis. He's 2 for 17 lifetime against Bennis. No score, 2 down. Merced at first. And that changeup in for a strike. 2-2 the count. Or he calls it the split finger, but
well, split finger, he uses it as his changeup, so you can call it a changeup. He said he uses it as a changeup, so we can call it that.
Brad Osmus, who usually catches him, said that that's the way he looks at it. He calls for a changeup when Dennis throws that pitch. Well, there's ball 3. 3-2.
Well, he got the first 2 hitters out, and this is one of the problems I believe that you have as a power pitcher. When you start to miss and you fall behind, they know that you're going to throw them a fastball, so they're sitting on it. And your 90-mile-an-hour fastball becomes like an 88 to 85-mile-an-hour fastball.
There goes Merced. That changeup is ripped into left field. Cut off in left field by Nieves. And holding with a single is King. Going to third is Merced. Yeah, I think King was certainly ready for that pitch. Whether he was looking for it or not, I don't know, but he was ready for it.
Well, to hit a power pitcher, you usually look fastball and adjust to anything else. You can see the rotation on the slider or fork ball or something breaking down and away. He rips it into the corner. Actually, a good play there by Nieves to cut it off. and holds King to a single.
Jeff King with only his 3rd career hit against Andy Bennis. And here's Mark Johnson, one of the young Pirates. Took a mighty cut at the Bennis fastball. He challenged him. Mark Johnson out of Dartmouth College, an Ivy Leaguer. This guy last year in Double-A ball at Carolina. 23 homers, 85 runs batted in. As a pop-up, Caminiti coming over. And that ends the inning. So Bennis gets out of the jam, and the Pirates strand 2. 1 hit. Now we'll get a look at Denny Nagel. It'll be Roberts, Reed, and Gwynn when we get back. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball tonight, coming from San Diego. And there's the downtown waterfront area. Very beautiful down by the convention center. And Bruce Bochy, the new manager of the Padres. And this ball club is hitting rather lustily right now. .290, leading the league in batting average and almost 5.5 runs a game, 2nd best in the league there. It'll be Bip Roberts in center field. It'll be Jody Reed at second, Tony Gwynn in right. Hitting cleanup, Eddie Williams. Ken Caminiti, the longtime Astro at third. Melvin Nieves in left. Andujar Cedeno at short. It'll be Brian Johnson behind the plate, and Andy Bennis is on the hill, hitting 9th. Pitching for Pittsburgh, Denny Nagel, and he's been pitching well.
Well, he has been pitching well. Let's take a look at Nagel's pitches. He throws a 4-seam fastball. Throws a 2-seam fastball. And he throws a slider. And he throws a changeup, which we'll talk about later, and a curveball.
Well, there's the curveball. And strike 1 to Bip Roberts. Bip Roberts is hitting .364. He's a switch hitter. Got 1 home run and 11 runs batted in. He is 4th in the league in hitting, and Tony Gwynn is 5th. Or at least that's where they stood at the start of the day. No score as the Padres bat. And Nagel moves him off the plate with a fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, Nagel did not throw, I mean, you mentioned fastball, but he doesn't throw a hard fastball.
No, he throws about 85 miles an hour, but after a changeup and you throw the fastball, it looks more like 90 miles an hour.
The bunt, but back to Nagel. And he gets the put out at first with a throw to Mark Johnson, and there is 1 away. We talked to Denny Nagel. He's not a hard thrower, and probably his key pitch is a great changeup. We asked him about it.
That's the pitch I'll throw to lefties or righties, but mainly to righties. It dives away, down and away on the right-handers, and to get them looking out for that outside pitch. And whenever I can throw this for strikes, that makes my fastball, which probably is 85, somewhere around there, look like 95. So if I could throw that pitch for strike, that's the key for me.
Now here's Jody Reed, right-handed hitter, veteran. Ball 1.
Well, he took 5 more miles an hour for his fastball. I said it makes it look like it's more about 85 to 90. He said 85 to 95.
And that fastball misses. 2 balls, no strikes to Jody Reed. Reed hitting .233, no homers, 5 runs batted in. And we got that on the Jugs gun at 85 miles an hour, so that's his good fastball. 2-1 the count. He really kind of polished up his changeup watching Frank Viola, who had just a great circle changeup. Two and 1 the count. A changeup, and it's taken for a ball.
The harder you throw, the more effective your changeup is, and the better your changeup is, the harder your fastball seems. So they work hand in hand. But I think you have to throw pretty hard, decent, 85 miles an hour to make your changeup effective.
Well, that fastball is over the outside. Full count, 3-2.
I think the best circle change I ever saw was Mario Soto at Cincinnati, and that was because he threw about 90+ miles an hour, and he had the exact same motion with his circle change as he did his fastball.
That fastball is pop foul and out of play. Well, Denny Nagel went to the University of Minnesota when Frank Viola was a pitching star with the Minnesota Twins, and whenever he had a chance, he'd go to the Metrodome to watch Frankie's sweet music pitch. And he says that really just by watching Viola, and his arm action throwing the changeup, that helped him perfect his. He also used to pitch in the minor leagues down in Orlando. Frank Viola's parents lived down there at the time, and they used to go see him pitch every once in a while. The pitch is low for ball 4, a walk for Jody Reed. And they said that they liked to watch him pitch because he reminded them of their son, Frank Viola.
And let's take a look at the Pirate defense. I think Jeff King has become just a solid player since he's gotten over all the injuries. He's become a very good defensive player. You have a good defensive infield, actually. Jay Bell and Carlos Garcia. 2 good second basemen and shortstop.
Tony Gwynn hit .394 last year, and that's one of the real crimes about the whole labor fiasco in baseball. We'll never know if Tony would have made it to 400. The thing was, before the strike, he just seemed to be starting to warm up at that point. Of course, we'll never know. Matt Williams would have matched the Babe, and Roger Maris, the runner, was going, and the throw is right there. Mark Parent to Jay Bell, and Jody Reed is nailed at second base as I guess a busted hit and run play, Joe.
Well, I'm sure that was a hit and run because Gwynn swung right through the pitch, and Jody Reed is not a base stealer. I'm sure Bruce Bochy, the manager, put a hit and run on. So he doesn't get a great jump. He is running thinking that Gwynn is going to protect him, and he can't protect him. He's out in front of the curveball. I think that may be one of the reasons, John, that he has struggled with Nagel is he was probably thinking he missed with the first pitch curveball. He's going to come back with a fastball, and Nagel threw another curveball. Sometimes a pattern that a pitcher uses can destroy your confidence and your ability to handle it.
Fastball to Gwynn misses. 3-1. Well, Tony Gwynn is only 1 for 13 in his career against Denny Nagel. 2 down, nobody on. No score. First inning here from the Murph. And he changed up on him on 3-1.
That's what I'm saying. See, his pattern is keeping Tony Gwynn off balance. See, Tony, you know, is thinking along with a pitcher or the pattern that he should have, and he's being completely fooled. Now, if Nagel is proper, he will throw a fastball in. Whether it's a strike or not, he really shouldn't care, because this will set him up for the remainder of the game. But he should go inside with a fastball.
Well, he went down and in and missed with it.
Yeah, he went inside, but I think he should have gone up and in, because what that will do, like I say, whether he misses with it or not doesn't matter. He may have to get Tony Gwynn out in a clutch situation later in the game, and he could set him up with this first inning pitching. And he did that by keeping him off balance with change-ups and curveballs. So now you throw the fastball 3-2, and Tony wouldn't know what to expect the next time up. And I think he did establish that in his mind, that he will throw him any pitch at any time, and that will help him later in the ball game.
Here's Eddie Williams. Now the Padres have some very strong arms in their rotation. And not all of them have really pitched well yet, including Andy Bennis. They have some very good hitting. Their defense is much improved. One thing they don't have much of is power. And Eddie Williams is a guy they're hoping will be able to provide some. He did last year in that brief time that he came back after falling off the baseball planet for a while.
Well, if you do not have power and you do not have speed, you're going to have some problems scoring runs over the course of the season. Obviously, they've been hitting well and playing well earlier as far offensively. But to be consistent, you have to have either some power or speed.
Back to the bag at first is Tony Gwynn. Gwynn with 3 steals, and under Bruce Bochy, the Padres have run fairly successfully. That busted hit and run play, only the 5th time this year that a Padre has been thrown out in a steal attempt. They have stolen 19. Over the mound, Carlos Garcia. And he got him at first, and that is the inning. 2 walks for Nagel, but no problems really. 1 man left. No score from San Diego after 1. John Miller and Joe Morgan back at Jack Murphy Stadium. Sunday Night Baseball from Southern California. No score after 1 as the Pirates come to bat against Andy Bennis. Here is Steve Pegues, P-E-G-U-E-S, pronounced Pegues, as if you didn't already know that. Pegues will be followed by Parent and then Carlos Garcia against Andy Bennis, and the count is a ball and a strike to Pegues. He's out of Mississippi, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce the name of the town he's from. He's jammed on that one. And Cedeno, another guy, is fun to watch in the field. Andujar Cedeno.
Well, he definitely has some flair to his game, and I think a lot of big league shortstops are fun to watch because it is a very difficult position to play. And he does get jammed, and you watch the transfer, he actually just flips it up into his hand. He didn't go in and get it. Takes a lot of good timing to make the play like that.
Andujar Cedeno. One down, and here is Mark Parent, former Padre. Look at it. One ball and no strikes.
And they say that's helped me from going at 6'6" and 22 the last 3 years when you were here.
Now Parent takes a strike on the outside. Now it's almost like a measure of respect that he get that first one in tight like that. And he's been hitting some home runs. He's hitting .306, and he has 4 home runs and only 49 at bats. I mean, there was a time when he first came up with the Padres, they thought he was going to be a big star.
Right.
He had a lot of injury problems, and it just never really happened for him. Out of Northern California. Grew up in a little town called Cottonwood. You ever been up there, Joe?
No, but I've heard of it.
You been to Anderson? You know, like pea soup Anderson?
No.
You ever been to Redding?
Yes.
Okay, there.
I don't travel much in California.
That's close enough, Joe.
I travel up to Lake Tahoe and back.
Yeah, he's from small town Northern California. And that's a foul back out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Andy Bennis facing a guy who at one time was his battery mate here with San Diego. Andy Bennis, you know, I guess you could argue about it a little bit. Some people feel like he's never won as many as he should have won over the years with his talent. That's the shortstop. Cedeno throws out Parent, out number 2. But on the other hand, Joe, I guess with Andy Bennis, you have to consider in the 6 years he's been here in San Diego, he has received less run support in his starts than any other pitcher in baseball.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, John, but that's what separates the good pitchers from the other guys, is being able to win 2-1, win 1-0. What's the old saying about Bob Gibson? They say he's the luckiest pitcher in the world because the other team doesn't seem to score when he pitches.
Yeah.
So it's all a matter of you make your own luck sometimes.
Yeah, but then he's got to hurry. Look at that throw. Safe at first. Carlos Garcia coming off some serious knee trouble from winter ball. And that ball was like a pop-up for Caminiti. It was hit so high on the bounce.
Well, he tries to get rid of it like a second baseman on a double play. He doesn't take a step, and to be able to get that much on the throw shows how strong an arm he actually has. Look at this. Look how quickly he got rid of that ball with something on it. You see a lot of second basemen come across, get rid of the ball quickly, but they don't have that much on it.
So Carlos Garcia, hitting only 196 at the start of the day, gets an infield hit. And here's the pitcher, Denny Nagel. Nagel is 1 for 11. He takes a strike. He did so poorly as a hitter when he first started that it kind of bugged him. And he actually concentrated on improving himself as a hitter. And then there was a period where he hit nearly 300 for a year. 1 strike to count to Nagel. Nagel grew up in the Baltimore area. He was an Orioles fan as a youngster. His parents used to take him to Memorial Stadium many years ago. And the guy he really picked out that he really enjoyed watching was a pretty good left-hander, somewhat similar to Nagel himself, Scott McGregor. Scotty won a lot of ball games, 120 in a year. Helped the Orioles win a World Series in 1983. Shut out the Phillies, I believe it was, in the final game of that series.
Yeah, you had to rub that in, right?
I don't remember who he got for the last out.
Wasn't me. But I'm sure I was one of the outs, but not the last one.
Yeah, that's a foul back to the screen. Well, if Denny Nagel can even end up being a reasonable facsimile of Scott McGregor, he'll have some success in the big leagues. Scotty, by the way, is now a minister and has his own congregation, building his own church not far from Baltimore, up in Delaware. Still loves the game, comes to a lot of ball games in Baltimore. Struck him out, and that is the inning. That's the first strikeout for Andy Bennis. Nagel goes down. Ken Caminetti will be coming up. Next Sunday, we're going to be in Montreal to see Felipe Alou's ball club. The Dodgers will be there. It looks like we'll see Hideo Nomo. You saw him Wednesday, Joe. He's something, isn't he?
Well, he's special. He's very difficult for the hitters to pick the ball up from on his release point. He slows down and then fires a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. So he is has a lot of potential, John. He could be a great one.
Raul Mondesi and the Dodgers. Moises Alou, the Expos next Sunday. Probably Nomo on the mound for the Dodgers. Got an extraordinary delivery that's just almost like a work of art. You know, it doesn't remind me of the way that Juan Marichal used to pitch, but it's kind of reminiscent of Marichal in that it's just so extraordinary.
Yeah, and he hides the ball very well. Well, I'm personally hoping for a matchup of Nomo and Perez.
Carlos Perez.
That would be great for me.
The third of the Perez brothers. First there was Pascual, now Melito, and Carlos has come along with the Expos. Ken Caminetti off of Nagel. Carlos Garcia in the shallow center. Still backpedaling, and he's got it.
A good thing Garcia went out and got that, because Al Martin lost it, or he backed up first and couldn't get in. Good play there by the second baseman.
One down now. Here is Mel Nieves. Now Nieves, so far, he hasn't accomplished much at the big league level. Still just a young guy, and right now is still mainly known as one of the key players acquired in the deal that sent Fred McGriff to the Atlanta Braves. Nieves hit .308 at Las Vegas last year with 25 home runs there. He's from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Bruce Bochy, as he takes a strike, he feels that Nieves is going to end up being a star. He's a switch hitter, runs well, got power. So far this year, Nieves is hitting .232, but he does have 3 home runs in only 56 at-bats. 0-2 the count. Nieves right now is just playing part-time. When he plays the outfield, Bip Roberts plays second. And then when Jody Reed's in the lineup, usually Nieves is out. Roberts plays left.
Well, he should be a star, John. They gave up a star to get him. Sheffield.
No, McGriff.
McGriff, I'm sorry. They gave up McGriff to get him. So.
You're mixing your stars there.
Yeah, I'm mixing my stars.
Come on, keep your stars
Well,
straight.
they got rid of them all so quickly.
2-2 now to Mel Nieves. Interestingly enough, all 3 of his home runs this year have been hit as a right-handed hitter in only 15 at-bats as a right-handed batter. Just past the mound, Garcia charging hard. Nice play. Out number 2, and now for an update, here's Carl Ravitch.
John, thank you very much. The marquee matchup this weekend in the American League featured the Indians and the Red Sox, top 2 teams, and one of those teams exposed a major weakness in another. MCI proof positive to Fenway. Once again, the Red Sox have a lead, and they blow it. It was 9-7 in the 8th. That home run by Sorrento tied it at 9. Then in the 9th, Jeff Pierce pitching 2 on. Murray and Tomei score 12-10. Cleveland comes back again against the Red Sox bullpen.
Man, any talk about hitting really almost right now has to begin and end with the Cleveland Indians lineup. What a lineup that is.
Excellent lineup. That's they got a very good top of the order.
I can't wait.
Leadoff man, good second hitter.
Can't wait till we get them on Sunday Night Baseball. I think next month we'll see them. Eddie Murray closing in on 3,000 hits. The batter is Andujar Cedeno, former Astro, hitting .271, 3 home runs and 11 runs batted in. Charging his bell. He got a bad bounce. He recovers and throws him out. Started out like it was going to be routine, but it took a bad bounce, and he really reacted well. That's it for the Padres. 3 up and 3 down. Top of the order coming for the Pirates. Martin, Bell, and Merced. No score. Beautiful downtown San Diego. Out of the shores of the Mission Bay down there. A spectacular area. Just a spectacular city. Joe, how come you don't live here? I don't understand it.
Well, it is a great place to live. Weather's very nice. I enjoy coming down, but I love the East Bay.
Here is Al Martin, leadoff man for the Pirates now, and the slider from Venice is in the dirt for ball 1. No scores. We start the 3rd inning. Al Martin, Albert Scales Martin, but he doesn't like to be known as Albert. He says it sounds too nerdy. He had been in the Braves farm system, but was a 6-year free agent. That is foul past the first base area down the right field line. And they fit him with contact lenses after they picked him up. And just like that, he started seeing the ball better, and it helped him become an excellent hitter. Can you imagine something as simple as that? And they got themselves a very fine player for nothing. 1-2 the count. He had 18 home runs in his rookie season, 1993, the most by a Pirate rookie since 1946. That one is hammered deep into right center. But there is Tony Gwynn. One man gone. And that brings up Jay Bell. As we mentioned when Bell came up the first time, you know, I mean, he used to be in there and then had Bonds and Bonilla and Van Slyke getting behind him. And of course, oftentimes he was asked to hit a sacrifice bunt.
Yeah, he was known as the bunting man in those days.
Ball 1 with a fastball.
Johnny had his best year in 1993. He hit .310, 9 home runs, 51 runs batted in, and he also scored 102 runs.
Two balls, no strikes now to Jay Bell. Well, all of the big stars are gone now. Bonds in San Francisco, Bonilla with the Mets, Andy Van Slyke is now with Baltimore. And that fastball misses. 3-0 to Jay Bell with Merced on deck. Jim Leland has expressed his displeasure on occasion this year about the state of things with the Pirates, but he's kind of upbeat right now because it looks like the team has been sold. And he's very confident now that from the comments he's heard from the new ownership that they want to go out and spend some money and resurrect this franchise. 3-1 the count to Bell. Strike 2. Fastball in there.
Well, I think when you talk about Jimmy Leland, he has been a loyal employee to the Pirate organization for a long time, ever since they started letting those players go. He didn't make any waves about it.
That is a foul ball.
But I think now the frustration has set in, and now he's saying, basically, I was reading a quote the other day. He said, I'm tired of people asking me what's wrong with the team. He said, a lot of good players are in somebody else's lineup. That's what's wrong with this team.
Yeah.
And he was speaking of the Bobby Bonillas, the Barry Bonds, Doug Drabecks, John Smiley. A lot of those players helped him win championships.
Too low. And it's ball 4 for Jay Bell. Well, we talked to Jim Leland about his perspective on what new ownership means to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
It's very encouraging, and I think that you know, in the near future, maybe if our pockets were just a little deeper. I know they're never going to be down to our shoes, so to speak, but if we could just get a little bit deeper pockets than we've had in the past, and be able to go out and maybe sign somebody now to add somebody to our lineup that would really help our ball club, and in the future at least be able to maybe retain the players that you choose to retain. I think that's a big key.
And there's a called strike to Orlando Merced.
John, I talked to one of the writers from Pittsburgh, and he said that John Regas, this potential new owner, has decided he would bring in a couple of free agents. He would do some things to help the identity of the ball club. But first and foremost, he wants to make sure that he's going to be able to keep Jimmy Leland there as the manager. He thinks he's a perfect manager for the situation.
Well, he has 1 year left in his contract. And always seems to be a lot of speculation about what's going to happen with Jim Leland. People write about what they think should happen, where he should go. They speculate whether he would want to go. I saw a column that was in a Pittsburgh paper recently where a columnist speculated maybe Leland was not the right manager for this particular Pirates club. Hit and run is on. It's a base hit for Orlando Merced, and Jay Bell will take third.
Orlando Merced has always been a very good hit and run batter in these situations. He knows how to hit in these situations. He doesn't always try to take the ball the opposite field. He just tries to put the ball in play and allow the base runner to get at least one base. He lines us in the right center field. Good play. Bell on the move goes to third easily. Tony Gwynn over to cut it off. And the Pirates have runners at first and third with one down, and their top RBI man, Jeff King, up.
Well, this is just the kind of situation in which he has excelled this year. King with 23 runs batted in the team's first 22 games. He starts the day third in the National League in RBIs. Outside corner, I beg your pardon.
You said it right, outside corner.
Jeff King, 3 homers and 23 driven in, and you see that 23 of the RBIs out of a grand total of 87 runs scored for the whole team. And that's about, it's not like he's got Barry Bonds hitting behind him or Bobby Bonilla either. I mean, he's right now he's the one guy in the lineup who's really been delivering. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's facing a pitcher against whom he has struggled in his career, although he has a hit tonight against Venice, but he's 3 for 18 lifetime against him. Well, nobody was fooled on that one.
And I'm going to say it for the 100th time, that it should be an illegal play. The rule book says you're not supposed to do anything to deceive the runner. I don't know what that is if you're not trying to deceive the runner at first base.
Saw Jack McDowell pick off Kevin Bass with that play at Yankee Stadium Friday night. And Bass looked pretty deceived.
Yes. So, I mean, I still think it's, I mean, I've talked to some umpires, and they don't like the rule either. They think it should not be in effect. You shouldn't be allowed to make a move toward another base and then throw to another one. Without stepping off, that is. If you step off, that's fine. But obviously, Dennis did not step off.
Joe West, the plate umpire. Larry Poncino, Mark Hirschbeck, and Frank Pulley umpiring the bases tonight.
But it is a legal move.
Did you say a legal move?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an illegal move.
Okay.
I know, not for me, it's illegal for me, but it's in the rule book.
On the third base line, Caminiti thought about going home, goes to first and stands, throws it away, it's up into the stands. Bell has scored to third base, Merced, and to second base is King, and he will pick up his 24th RBI in the play.
What happens here is Caminiti was going to come home, but he looked and had a bad angle. He did not have a clear shot to come home and get Jay Bell. So then he decided his only play was to first base. From this angle, you'll be able to see. Now watch, you'll see that he does not have a good angle right there. Between he and the catcher is Jay Bell running down the line, so he tries to go to first base as a last-minute situation, and he throws it away.
1-0 Pittsburgh. Runners at second and third now. Only 1 out. The Pirates have a chance to really build this into a fairly big inning. The batter is Mark Johnson. No hit for King. They're scoring an error all the way on Caminiti, but he does get credit for the run batted in, his 24th. The infield stays back except for Caminiti at third. The Ivy Leaguer, Mark Johnson, at the plate. He was the MVP in the Southern League last year, which is good, except the Southern League is double-A ball. And he's hitting 5th in the order. He's the guy they've got to protect King. Well, he drills that one down the right field line, but foul.
When I talked to Jimmy Leland, he said, look, I'm not trying to kid anyone. I talked to the players. They understand. A lot of these players are AAA players. They're getting an opportunity to prove that they can be marginal big league players. They're not going to be stars. He said most of these players do not have the ability to become stars. He said, but some of them do have the ability to become productive major league players, and they're getting their opportunity now.
1 ball, 1 strike. And he drilled that one foul. That's Tommy Sant, the first base coach. Steve Pegues is on deck, another one of the young Pirate players. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, this is a big sequence now, Joe, because 1 run, well, if that's all they get, that's not bad for Andy Bennis, but they got a great chance to get 2 or 3 runs out of it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He swung, says Joe West. Strike 3.
And that was a slider down and in, and that is the 2nd strikeout for Bennis, and it comes at a good time. And he did swing, as you can see. He has the high leg kick, and anything off speed should bother him. And he has a problem with the fastball up. But again, that's why he was in AAA. He has holes in his swing. I mean, you know, AA, and then his next step would have been AAA.
He probably didn't face too many sliders like that in
not
AA.
like that.
Well, now here is Steve Pegues, 2 down and 2 on. The center. On the move is Bip Roberts. He's there. And they just get the 1. By the way, King given credit for an infield hit to drive in that run. 1-0 Pittsburgh. Sunday Night Baseball from San Diego. The Pirates 1 and the Padres 0. And San Diego comes to bat in the last of the 3rd with the catcher, Brian Johnson, the 8th place hitter. He's in there tonight giving Brad Ausmus some time off. And Denny Nagel curves him for a strike. Ausmus has become quite a player, hitting .308 for the Padres. And they say he's a very fine receiver.
He is. Very good receiver.
So Brian Johnson in there tonight. He's hitting .280 in 25 at-bats with a home run. He's out of Oakland.
Right down the street from where I live. He also was a quarterback at Stanford. And he and Mark Johnson can compare notes.
Right back to Nagel. And Johnson is out number 1. Well, they were both quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Brian Johnson at Stanford and Mark Johnson at Dartmouth. Now, this was an ad in the San Diego paper today. Look at this. The Civic Leaders seeks $50 million to $100 million, benefactress, to fund Major League Baseball only ballpark for naming and other privileges impeccably confidential.
You know,
they're looking for a baseball philanthropist. Now, we thought maybe this was and that was just a small little ad in the paper.
In fact, John, you're the only one that saw that today.
I think I am.
Yeah, you are, including the Padre people. They didn't see it either. You're the only one. Why did you see that?
I don't know. I have no idea. And we asked Larry Lucchino, the new president of the Padres, about it, and he doesn't know anything about it. We asked Charles Steinberg, vice president for the Padres. He didn't know anything about it. They are interested in building a new baseball-only stadium here in San Diego. But I'm just wondering, Joe, who is it that put that ad in the paper looking for a baseball philanthropist?
I think they put it in there for you.
Two and 1 the count to Andy Bennis. And a foul. Bennis is 1 for 8. Well, Larry Lucchino, now running the ball club here, used to run the Baltimore Orioles. There's Larry. And he's the CEO for the Padres. With the new owner here, John Moores. And they're calling this ball club the new Padres. It's almost, Joe, like they're looking at this as a new franchise. They're trying to start from scratch here. They're doing it the right way.
Not a bad idea.
Bennis retired. Bell throws him out. 2 men gone in the 3rd inning. 1-0, the Pirates ahead. Lucchino, of course, long time involved with the Baltimore Orioles, and eventually became the president there, and was one of the moving forces behind the building of Camden Yards, the beautiful ballpark in Baltimore. And there's John Moores, the new owner of the Padres, with the Padres hat on. Looks like a guy who enjoys coming to the ball game, doesn't he, Joe?
Enjoys the game, and that's
Send that
great.
man a hot dog. Yeah. Now he looks like a fan, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. But it's interesting, we were talking earlier about the Pirates' new owner, John Regas. He's a season ticket holder in Pittsburgh, big fan. And maybe that's what baseball needs, fans as owners rather than business people.
People who come in who appreciate the game, who like the game. Yeah. I'm not so sure that there are that many owners who really enjoy the game.
Well, there was definitely years ago, that was the makeup of the ownership. Basically all baseball people and baseball fans.
1 ball, 1 strike to Bip Roberts, the leadoff hitter. He was out on a bunt attempt his first time. 2 down, nobody on in the 3rd. Hi, Mom, send fans. That's one thing. They've not been getting many fans out here at Jack Murphy Stadium yet.
They have a pretty good crowd tonight, John. I don't know if they're here for you or the Doobie Brothers they're going to perform afterwards. I don't know.
Are you ripping me?
No. I just didn't know if they were here for you or
you mean because
they
given the opportunity to watch me on television or actually come to the game,
exactly.
They'd much rather come to the game? See, you're ripping. Base hit for Bip Roberts. I'm very fragile, Joe.
I see.
You got to be very careful.
I see. Well, you see the target low and away, and the pitch is right there. Just good hitting there by Bip Roberts. I mean, he goes the other way with it, and as I said in the open, he is one of the best-kept secrets in the National League. Very fine player.
Well, you know, he lists as his idol when he was a youngster growing up in Oakland, Joe Morgan.
Yeah, he grew up in Oakland. He also was a second baseman. But he decided he graduated from that position. Now he plays outfield more than second base.
He's 5 feet 7 inches tall.
I'm taller than he is.
You're like a big guy compared to him. Now, Bip has stolen 8 bases this year in 8 tries, and Nagel steps off the slab, trying to bluff him back. Jody Reed, the hitter. Well, he's got to be going here, Joe. If 2 down, they're down by a run.
If you are the Padres, and anytime you get some speed on the bases tonight, you should try to pick a pitch and send them. Nagel throws a lot of change-ups, which will give you a good chance to run. Plus, he has a high leg kick, but you have to pick the proper pitch or try to read what he's going to do.
Well, let's try to have you give us an idea if you think Nagel's got a good move here, Joe.
No, I don't. I'm watching him. He just has an average move, not a good move.
1 strike to Jody Reed. He threw a fastball to that first pitch.
But what he's doing, John, is changing his delivery. He goes quickly with his leg, and then he also raises it to try to freeze the runner.
So giving a different look on each of those first 2 pitches.
And I think that is the best way to hold runners when you do not have a great move.
Steps off the slab and snaps the throw over there. And Bip is back. Bip Roberts, 5th in the league in stolen bases at the start of the day. Kilvio Veras of Florida was leading the league with 11. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Jody Reed. Now, Reed is a pretty good threat to bring Bip Roberts home if Bip could steal second base. Mark Johnson in the bag with Bip over there. There he goes. He got it picked off. Johnson throws to Garcia, dropped it. Back to first. And they got it. So, end of the possible threat. 1-0 Pittsburgh. Bip cold there.
Well, let's take a look, John, at his motion here. Stop it right there. All right, now, if he takes his foot behind the rubber, he has to go to the plate. Here, he's not closing his hips, which tells you he's not going to the plate. He can't throw to the plate without closing his hips. Now, roll it. And you see he just steps toward first base. You have to close in order to get power to your pitch to go to the plate. That's how you read left-handed pitchers. And you read them very easily from first base. Technically, it's easier to look straight on than it is from the side. If he doesn't close his hips, he can't go to the plate.
Mark Parent takes ball 1. Parent, Carlos Garcia, and then Denny Nagel. The last third of the Pirates batting order. The Pirates lead 1-0 in the top of the 4th. Well, he drilled that one down the left field line against Bennis. Extra bases. Giving chase is Nieves. Mark Parent lumbering into second. Just does make it. Nice throw by Nieves.
Actually, John, that was not such a great throw by Nieves, but just one of the slowest doubles I've seen in a long time.
Well, it was an accurate throw.
Okay, an accurate throw.
All right, he should have been already heading for third, maybe,
Yes.
but
I mean, he was running in place there for a long time. There's a little slider there that's ripped down the line, and Parent, look how far that Nieves has to go for it, John. Look how far he has to run for this ball.
yeah.
He's not even near the play when he hits it.
Well, I already gave him extra bases the moment he hit it, and
When he finally plays it off the wall, he still has a shot at Parent at second base. But you're right, it was a very accurate throw by Nieves.
well, while we were looking at that, Bruce Bochy went out to visit with Andy Bennis, and we were wondering maybe if Andy was having some physical problems, but he apparently said he's okay. And the fastball is in for a strike to Carlos Garcia.
Well, he hung the breaking ball, and I'm just wondering if they're saying to him that you're a power pitcher.
The slider misses. 84 miles an hour there. Bruce Bochy, first year as the manager of the Padres.
Bruce was a teammate of mine in Houston. Played in the great series against the Phillies in 1980.
There's a strike at the outside. 2-1 to Carlos Garcia, who got an infield hit his first time. That was 91 miles an hour, that last fastball. We got the Jugs gun on the screen for you. And a foul. 2-2 the count with Nagel, the pitcher, on deck.
Well-placed slider there. Last year, Carlos Garcia was the best player on the Pirates ball club. He injured his knee in winter ball, and he has been struggling to get back to where he's 100% healthy, and he's struggling with the bat as well.
Strike three call.
And that was good pitching there by Bennis. He threw him 2 sliders on the outside corner, and this is a fastball back on the inside part of the plate. And you see good movement there by Johnson. He set up outside and gave Garcia the idea that the pitch was going to be away, and then he hits the inside corner with a good fastball. Good decoy in there by the catcher, and good pitching there by Bennis.
And Garcia really needed to get that runner over to third somehow, and could not do it. Never made contact. Nagel fouled down the left field line. Carlos Garcia, by the way, injured the medial collateral ligament in his knee during a Winter League game in January. And he tried to avoid surgery, went up to his wife's hometown, Buffalo, underwent rehab up there. And then after he had rehab for a while, they undertook further tests and figured that he had only strained the ligament and surgery was not necessary. But according to Jim Leland, he still has not been the same Carlos Garcia. He's maybe 80% of his former self.
That's a difficult injury. I mean, if it was only strained, okay. I had a torn medial collateral ligament, and that is devastating for a second baseman. You have to really, I had surgery to get it, and then you have to really rehab it.
He's still fuming down there about not getting the runner over. Right out in front of the plate, it's a fair ball. Nagel didn't run at first. Here's the throw over there, and then Bennis came in to cover the plate. Nagel was the last guy in the park who realized that that ball was in play.
Yeah, I don't think he knew where it was, because he hits it late. You can see he actually hits the front of the plate with it, and it bounces forward instead of backwards.
Nagel retired. 2 down. Runner at third now. And here is Al Martin. Al Martin always played football just like his Uncle Rod, the Raiders. And he never played baseball until his senior year in high school. He was an all-state running back here in California, and then signed a letter of intent to play at USC, so he was a serious football player. And then in his senior year in high school, when the football season was over, because the PE class he had to take was so early in the morning, if you played sports, you didn't have to take the PE class. So he borrowed a baseball glove and played baseball, so he wouldn't have to get up so early. The Braves saw him, and they signed him. And that was the end of the football idea. He just decided, man, I like this baseball.
Less contact.
Fastball and a good one, but outside. 2-1. He was a ball boy. He grew up around pro sports with his Uncle Rod. He was a ball boy for the Oakland Raiders as a kid. He says only now does he look back at it and realize how special that was for a young guy. He says for him as a kid, it was just normal. Well, he'd like to get that big hit with 2 down here to drive in this run. As you saw, he has not hit well in the clutch in 1995. In fact, he only has 2 RBIs the whole year. Tonight, he is 0 for 2. He's popped out and flied out. 2 down, runner at third. Pirates lead 1-0.
That was an excellent high fastball there from Dennis, 93 miles an hour. This is a good fastball, good high riding fastball. That's the 4-seam fastball.
I came back with the off-speed delivery and lost it. We mentioned Rod Martin, the uncle of Al Martin. This is back in Super Bowl 18. Joe Theismann, fumble, ordinary, and Rod Martin recovers. There's Rod. I got it, and he wasn't giving it up either. And this is his nephew, Al Martin, now the leadoff man for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jay Bell in a big spot now. As you mentioned, Joe, I mean, Bell became a pretty good hitter over the years. But he's really struggling at the start of this year.
A lot of it has to do with your surroundings, John, and the players that are around you. I mean, Bell and King are two real bona fide major league players, and some of the other players are not.
Back in 1986, he hit the first pitch that he ever saw in the major leagues for a home run for the Cleveland Indians against Minnesota, thrown by Bert Blyleven. And he had just been traded for Blyleven. Cleveland got him, sending Blyleven to Minnesota.
Well, it sounds like Blyleven tried to sneak a fastball by him.
I think so.
Yeah. Because if he would have thrown him that hammer first pitch, he wouldn't have hit it.
Well, you couldn't hit that pitch.
No, you couldn't. Have great curveball from Blyleven.
Over the head of Bennis. There's Jody Reed with a force out on Al Martin. And the Pirates get a leadoff double, but they don't get a run. They've left 7 men on base in this game. Reed and Gwynn coming up. Back in San Diego, Sunday Night Baseball. The Padres and the Pirates. Final game of a homestand for the Padres. They head out on a long East Coast trip afterward. Jody Reed against Denny Nagel. The breaking ball is low. 1 ball and no strikes. Reed was at the plate when Bip Roberts got picked off to end the third. Reed walked his first at bat. He'll be followed by Tony Gwynn and then Eddie Williams. Fastball too high from Nagel. So it is 2-0. Nagel has given up only 1 hit. That was to Bip Roberts in the third. And as we said, he picked off Bip. He also has walked 2. When it's hit deep down the left field line, it is a foul ball for the bullpen area. 2-1 to Jody Reed. Jody Reed, a pretty good big league player. And fairly consistent. Had some very good years for the Red Sox back a few years. Seemed like, though, Joe, maybe he's made some bad business decisions lately. The Dodgers had offered him, what, $8 million for 3 years. He turned it down. He ended up signing with the Brewers for, what, $400,000 for 1 year? Or whatever it was.
Well, whatever it was a bad decision.
It wasn't $8 million, I know that.
Yeah, it was a bad decision. I wonder if he still has the same agent.
Well, now the Brewers offered him $1 million. He turned it down. And he signed with the Padres for about $350, something like that.
Sounds like he has the same agent.
Well, maybe it's just he's one of those guys who really means it when he says the money is not important. He just plays for the love of the game. Maybe that's it.
Maybe you're right. You can still love the game and make $8 million. That does not. The amount of money doesn't detour your love.
Well, I'd like to be able to prove it. Dropped and left by Pegues, and Jody Reed is aboard. Pegues got there and couldn't handle it. Supposed to catch those in the big leagues.
Definitely. The ball was hit and it hung up out there, and you can see that Pegues gets there in plenty of time, hits him in the middle of the glove. And it's an error on the left fielder. Hits him right in the middle of the glove.
Error on the left fielder. So Reed is aboard his Tony Gwynn. He walked his first time. The curveball. A strike ended his 0-1.
I could have told you that Tony was going to take that pitch just to see the pattern that Nagel's going to give him this at bat. We saw how he pitched him the first at bat, threw him a lot of off-speed pitches and fastballs inside. And now you may see Tony Gwynn look for a pitch inside and try to pull it in the hole at first base, because he knows he's going to get a fastball inside sometime during the next couple of pitches.
Well, Chad Williams told him, you get that fastball in there, you got to attack it.
There it is.
This one to the second baseman is one. And safe at first. Garcia to Bell for one, but they couldn't get the double play.
Well, you know you're going to get the fastball in. That's a good sinking fastball from Nagel. This should be a double play. Garcia goes to Bell. Bell has plenty of time. His throw to first base actually pulls. Well,
yeah. I think you're right the first time.
Yeah.
Joe. Pulled him off.
Pulled him off because the throw beat him from up here.
Yeah. But yeah, his foot just started to
slide
off the bag. Yeah. Larry Poncino with the call over there. Now here is Eddie Williams. So the Padres get a break after getting a break. They got the error by Pegues. Now the Pirates could have atoned for it with a double play, but they didn't pull that off either. Eddie Williams grounded out to second his first time. One out, one on. Ooh, made him look bad on that one. One ball, one strike.
I see why Gwynn has struggled a little bit against Nagel. I'm sure he will figure him out eventually, because he's such a good hitter. The pitcher's not ever going to be able to dominate him. But I can see where Nagel is keeping him off balance with a variety of speeds, locations, and the sinking fastball.
Well, this should be two. Bell to Garcia, one. Back to first. Two. Double play. The seventh double play into which Williams has grounded into this season. Second in the majors. One nothing Pirates as we go to the fifth inning from Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. This is John Miller along with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. And every Sunday we'll be right here. Not right here in San Diego, but right here on ESPN with a ball game for you. Next Sunday in Montreal. We hope you'll join us. The Dodgers and the Expos from Stade Olympique. See Tony Tarasco making that trade with the Braves look good for the Expos. They get Roberto Kelly and Tony Tarasco in that deal. And Tarasco is doing real well. And of course, Kelly's a pretty good player.
Kelly is a good player. He has a proven track record, so you know that he's going to perform.
Marquise Grissom went to the Braves in that deal. Andy Bennis misses too high. This is Orlando Merced. Did they call that a strike?
Yes.
I keep umpiring from here.
I know. I was wondering. Joe West doesn't like that either.
I'll just let Joe umpire from now on. Hard slider. What are you calling it there, Joe? Okay, ball two. 2-2 the count. Orlando Merced from Puerto Rico. He's named Orlando after Orlando Cepeda.
And that's a good guy to be named after.
Line drive, base hit into right field. Hit it hard. Tony Gwynn picks it up. Second hit for Orlando Merced. By the way, I mentioned Tony Gwynn hitting that inside pitch. He had a rather remarkable conversation with none other than Ted Williams that it stuck.
We had an animated conversation about this, was handling the ball inside. He says sometimes you just got to go up there and look for the ball inside and just let it go. Let the swing go. Don't try to guide it. Just let it go. And I tried that last year, and I hit 12 home runs, and I hit 35 doubles, and I really drove the ball a lot better than any other point in my career. And the line he used was, he says, hey, anybody can go up there and take a ball on their outer half and just block it off to left field, but Major League history's made on the ball inside, and it just stuck.
Yeah.
That's, anytime you have a conversation with Ted Williams, it sticks. He loves hitting, and he loves to talk about it. I wish I could have talked to him before I retired. I've talked to him a lot since I retired, and I've learned a lot about hitting.
I mean, Ted Williams, he's not only a legendary figure in baseball, but he's really a national treasure.
Yeah, and he's also accessible. I mean, he's a guy that if anybody wants to talk to him about hitting, he takes the time to do so.
What I like, Joe, is Jeff King bats. The count is 2-0 to him. King is 2 for 2. Merced at first. No, or 3-0 the count now with Merced at first. I mean, Ted Williams still follows the game. I mean, when he talks to Tony Gwynn, he knows about Tony Gwynn. He talks to Paul Molitor. He knows about Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor had a similar story after the '93 World Series, talking with Ted Williams. And they discussed Molitor's swing. Well, 2 men on here for the Pirates against Andy Bennis. Pirates already ahead 1-0 as Mark Johnson is coming up. But when you talk Tony Gwynn, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, in his era, is one of the great batting averages. Puts him up among the top hitters for batting average of all time. 333 at the start of this season, and he had a shot at 400 last year. Mark Johnson takes a strike, ended his 0-1.
When you look at Mark Johnson and he has the high leg kick, John, you can tell that he's looking almost dead red, as they say, looking for a fastball. And Bennett starts him off with an off-speed breaking ball. If you're going to throw the fastball, it better be up. Right up there.
Just
up
like
and
that.
in. Yep.
Fouled back, and it's 0-2. Well, Mark Johnson so far has really hurt the Pirates tonight, because he's had Merced and King both on base every time he's hit. And he has not been able to do anything with those opportunities up till now. He's fouled out and struck out in his first 2 at-bats. And now it's 0-2 here. Struck him out with a high, hard one.
That's the perfect pitch and the perfect way to pitch Mark Johnson. You start him off with a breaking ball, then go up the ladder with the fastball. And obviously that works on a lot of hitters, not just Mark Johnson. But you'll take a look at this high fastball up and out of the strike zone, but just a good, hard inside fastball from Andy Bennis.
There's Bryce Flory warming up in the San Diego bullpen. We're only in the 5th. Bennis struggling a bit, though. 2 men on, 1 man out, and there's strike 1 to Pegues. Another one of the young Pirates.
The 2 fastballs he threw to Mark Johnson, to me, were maybe 2 of the best fastballs he's thrown all evening. He got them exactly where he wanted them.
And he swung at a bad one. Strike 2.
Sometimes when you analyze a power pitcher, John, I see a change go through a lot of guys who throw hard and are successful right away. They want to become pitchers, and they get the ball down, you know, because that's where pitchers pitch. And they end up losing their good high heater. That high fastball is still the toughest pitch to handle. And if you have a good fastball, you need to throw it up and out of the strike zone a lot and get the hitters to chase it. And especially when you get 2 strikes on a hitter. He tried to do it there, which was a perfect time, but he missed. Now it's 1-2.
Merced at second, King at first. 1 out. The 1-2 pitch. The runner from second is going. Merced, and he is out at third. Caminetti with the tag. The trailing runner, King, did not run.
Well, it was 1 ball and 2 strikes, and Orlando Merced thought he had a good enough jump. Bennis did not really check him, but he started just a fraction too late. Good throw down there by Johnson, and he's out by quite a bit at third base. It's a good fastball in, gives Johnson a good shot at it. If it had been a breaking ball away, Merced probably would have been safe, but that fastball in didn't allow him enough time to make it.
King holding at first. And there is strike 3, and just like that, Pegues is gone. The Pirates are gone. Still 1-0 Pittsburgh. Caminetti will be coming up when we get back. Yeah, a young fan of Sunday Night Baseball. The Pirates won, the Padres nothing. Looks like she's having fun at the ball game. Here is Ken Caminiti, switch hitter facing Denny Nagel. And the fastball is low. Caminiti, now 32 years of age. Last year, he had 18 homers and 75 batted in for Houston. Remember, that's before the strike. Missed almost a third of the year. And he takes a called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. He was part of a 12-player trade between the Astros and the Padres, which, of course, didn't get a whole lot of publicity because it happened right in the middle of the strike. And the curveball misses. It is 2-1 to Caminiti. But Randy Smith, the general manager in San Diego, made the deal with the Astros. Biggest trade in baseball, most players involved since 1957. That's a foul out of play. Here's Randy Smith.
Well, Randy made the trade with the Astros. His father is the president of the Astros. Bob Watson is the general manager of the Astros. And I wonder, I asked him about that, and I said, it must have been difficult trying to deal with your father who taught you the business. And he said, yes.
Check swing.
But I think they both got what they wanted out of the deal, so that makes it a good trade for both teams.
Well, there's Steve Finley, another one of the players they picked up in that deal. Andujar Cedeno, the shortstop, came from Houston.
It's ironic they got him for their defense, and there's been one error tonight, and that was committed by Caminiti.
You know, it's interesting. He played all those years on AstroTurf.
Right.
Now he comes here to San Diego, which over the years has been a kind of a ballpark notorious for high error totals.
Well, talking to Davey Lopes, though, he said it was a much better infield now. We did see one erratic hop earlier in the ball game, but he thinks that it's a very good infield. Davey Lopes should know.
Hanging up and caught in right field by Orlando Merced, and Caminiti is out number 1. Here's the trade. Caminiti, Andujar Cedeno, Steve Finley, a prospect, Roberto Pedagine, and Brian Williams, and a player to be named. And Derek Bell went to Houston. Doug Brocail, pretty good pitcher. Ricky Gutierrez, a shortstop. Pedro Martinez, pretty good left-handed reliever. Phil Plantier, power hitter. And Craig Shipley, an Australian, who happened to hit over .330 last year for the Padres. But what really happened in that deal was that a lot of heavy salary went to San Diego and out of Houston. Although I know Bob Watson insists that they like the players they got.
Well, they wanted to add a little more power. They did that with Phil Plantier and Derek Bell.
They also had the young Phil Nevin they thought was going to be ready to move into third base. So they're clearing some space for him, although it hasn't really happened yet. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Nieves. Melvin Nieves, who was part of that Fred McGriff trade. Of course, that was the old ownership of the Padres. These are the new Padres. Now they're heading toward a new direction. Backhanded at third by King. In the dirt. Johnson can't handle it. It's into the crowd and caught by a fan who brought his glove.
Well, I'm going to take back what I said about this being a good infield, because that looked like it was going to be an erratic hop, so King had to change his direction and come in and take it on the short hop, which he did, but he was off balance a little bit when he made the throw. Great fielding position there by King, and then he decides, I have to go get it, which is the proper play. He comes up with it. He really has time. He just kind of throws his sidearm and it sinks. He didn't get up on top, and the ball bounced in front of Johnson, and he couldn't handle it.
Error for King, the Pirates' second error of the game. Here is Andujar Cedeno. And that's a foul ball. It hit him in the leg after bouncing. 1 strike to count. Well, Derek Bell, talking about that trade a little more, Joe. I mean, Derek Bell played well here in San Diego. He runs well. He hit some home runs. And Phil Plantier, the first year he came here, hit 34 home runs.
Well, they were both good players, but you have to give up some good players to get good players in return. And, of course, Andujar Cedeno, no one knows how good he's going to be or can be. So there's a lot of potential there. Caminiti has been a solid major league player for a number of years.
You know, and there are those trades where teams are strictly clearing salary, which really seemed to be happening with the Padres under the old ownership when they traded Sheffield and McGriff. Although, as it turns out, especially in the Sheffield trade, they got some players who have really helped them. And then there were trades where maybe you clear out some salary, but feel like you've got some good talent in return and you can continue playing at a high level. And I think that's where Houston, that's where Bob Watson comes in. I think he thinks that they still can be as good as they were, even with the trade. Time will tell.
Well, you talk about getting something in return. I think that's one of the problems in which has caused the demise of the Pirates. You know, most of their players left. They did not get a lot in return for them.
To the hole. Now breaking for third is Nieves, and Bell still throws over to first. I don't get that 2 times, Joe.
Well, I'd hate to think that he didn't remember how many outs there were, but he clearly had an easy play at third base. Jeff King went to the bag. He had an easy play at third base if he wanted to take it. Now watch where the runner is by the time the ball's hit to him. Now see, King's going to the bag. I mean, he has all day, and King is asking him to throw it to him. So I don't know. Bell just had his mind made up he was going to first base.
Well, he must have forgotten how many outs there were.
Yeah.
I mean, if he knew how many outs there were, he would have been thinking about going after him right now.
Well, he should have, but I'm going to try not to read his mind. But, I mean, that was definitely a play that you make with 2 outs, not 1 out.
2 down. Here is the catcher, Brian Johnson. Runner at third for the Padres. That is Nieves. He's the first Padre runner to get past first base in this game against Denny Nagel. High in the air, left center, playable. Al Martin. And that's the inning. 1 error, and then 1 curious play, and 1 left. 1-0 Pirates. We're in Southern California. Maybe the palm tree that gave it away. The Pirates lead the Padres 1-0 on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Now coming up Wednesday Night Baseball, a big doubleheader. Dave Justice and the Atlanta Braves are down 1-4 in a row. Take out Ozzie Smith and the St. Louis Cardinals. Could be Tom Glavine on the mound that night for Atlanta. That's at 7:30. Then the second half of the doubleheader, Cal Ripken and the Baltimore Orioles. Rafael Palmeiro and company take on Ruben Sierra, the red-hot Mark McGuire, and the Oakland Athletics, Ricky Henderson, Geronimo Berroa. That Oakland club is really extraordinarily hot with the bat right now. They just swept the series at Kansas City. They won today 7-2. Mark McGuire hit his 10th home run of the year. And since La Russa put McGuire, Berroa, and Sierra consecutively in the batting order, all 3 of them have been hot.
Berroa is a real surprise because, you know, McGuire and, of course, Sierra have track records that you can look at. But Berroa is just coming into his own.
Here's Mark Parent, who doubled his last time. He's 1 for 2. 1 ball, 1 strike to count as he faces Andy Bennis. Pirates ahead 1-0. The only run of the game driven in by Jeff King with an infield single in the 3rd. We're in the 6th. And the slider misses. 2-1 the count to Mark Parent. By the way, that Wednesday night game, Baltimore should have Mike Messina ready for that ball game. Messina, the outstanding right-hander of the Orioles. So big doubleheader on ESPN Wednesday night. Cal Ripken, about 100 games away now from Lou Gehrig.
He's gone so far. 100 games seems like a short stretch, but that's a long way.
You know,
to go.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I mean, name 1 player in all of Major League Baseball that you know for sure will play in each of the next 100 games. That one is deep to left and gone. A home run for Mark Parent. Where's my all-star ballot? That's his 5th home run of the year. He's hitting over 300. He has a double and a homer tonight.
Well, I think what happened here, John, is Bennis was too careful with Parent. He wanted to throw him fastballs in and sliders away. And he just stayed with that pattern until he got behind, and he had to come in with a 3-1 fastball. I think he should have gotten a part of the plate a little earlier with the fastball. When you have to go 3-1, you're going to get in trouble. And this is a 3-1 fastball, belt high and about the middle of the plate. And Mark Parent knows what to do with it. This is just a line drive right out of here.
Carlos Garcia into the hole. Andujar Cedeno. The long throw. Nice. Garcia now 1 for 3. 2-0. The Pirates ahead against Venice. Is Ray Miller, the Pirate pitching coach, and Mark Parent. Mark Parent, his major league record for home runs in a season, for him, 7 with the Padres, 1989. And he had to take 141 at bats to do that. Look what he's done in this series. He had 3 home runs in this series against his old team. You think he's enjoying that?
I think he enjoyed whether it was his old team or not. I think he's just happy to get some base hits.
And that one's fouled away by Denny Nagel, the pitcher, who is 0 for 2. Mark Parent. He now has 30 home runs in his major league career. A little over 700 at bats. And he just had a long string of terrible injury problems, Parent. His dad was an All-American quarterback at the University of Washington and also played some minor league baseball. And then when he retired from pro baseball, he played professional fast pitch softball. So they had athletics in Mark's family when he was growing up. He was a quarterback when he went to high school, but he didn't like it. What he did like was basketball. Became an all-state player in basketball here in California. Along the left field line, Nieves. And Nagel is out number 2.
John, I don't think Parent liked the way you described his double, so he decided he'd hit it out of the ballpark and let you describe his home run trot.
I gave him a double the moment he hit it, and he almost made me look bad. I'm glad he hit it out. Now here's a change they made at San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium. These are box seats right behind home plate. Those may be the best seats in any ballpark in the country, Joe. And they got to be the closest. Sal Martin swings and misses. Strike 1. Martin, the leadoff hitter, 0 for 2 with a walk.
Well, you can definitely see the movement of the pitches when you're on that level of the playing field. You're right at the lower level.
Those seats are just 40 feet behind the plate. Now that's close. Most seats right behind the home plate area are about at least 60 feet away. And they are right there. Next time we come here, I want to be sitting down there with a couple of tacos and something to drink.
Okay.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Al Martin.
You're right. They do have a great delicacy here called a fish taco.
Fish taco.
Great. Better than hot dogs.
Wow. Right back to those box seats. Look out, guys. You mean it has fish in it?
Fish tacos.
Did they take the bones out?
Yes. Excellent.
What kind of fish? Go ahead.
Fish.
Say anything.
F-I-S-H. Fish.
Scrod. Atlantic cod. That's it for Al Martin down on strikes. Venice will be coming up 2-0 Pittsburgh. Sunday Night Baseball, and we're out here in the Mission Valley. The Pirates lead the Padres 2-0. There was a play earlier in this game with a 1 out on a ground ball to Jay Bell. Nieves the runner, but look where Bell throws.
Well, he threw to first base, John, and he knows that he should have gone to third to take the runner. And he sent a message up to me and said, "Tell Joe Morgan I'm an idiot." I guess he knew I was saying something about the play, but he got out of it okay because they did not score a run. So he's not an idiot anyway.
I mean, I guess what he was. Here's Phil Clark, the pinch hitter, hits a long high drive deep in the left center field, way back there. Gone! A home run! He cleared both walls with that one. First home run of the year for Phil Clark. First run of the night for the Padres.
And you see Jimmy Leland a little dumbfounded about that. First pitch, fastball, and it's deep. Well, it's a fastball right down the middle. I think Nagel was trying to get out in front in the count, and it did not sink. It did not do anything, and Clark hit it out.
Now Biff Roberts, the leadoff hitter. It's a 1-run game again. Carlos Garcia has to hurry just in time.
He made that a tougher play than it was, John. He ran away from it. He could have cut it off. And with a runner like Bip Roberts, you need to make as easy a play as possible. See him going away from it? See, he's running away from the ball. Once you do that, you put yourself in a very vulnerable position. But because he has a shortstop's arm, he's able to get Bip Roberts at first base. Good play there. But he just made it a difficult play.
Down in the bullpen, the very fine young Padre prospects is warming up, whom we will see come the 7th inning now that Bennis has been lifted. There he is, Dustin Hermanson. We saw him when we televised that minor league game this spring. Jody Reed, right to Johnson, and that is out number 2. 2 men gone. So that'll bring up Tony Gwynn. Here's Hermanson. And Hermanson has been something else since they brought him up to the big leagues. So I'm anxious to see him tonight. He didn't look that good when we saw him in Phoenix.
He did not, but it was early in spring training. Remember, now he's gotten a little more time under his belt.
No. Here's Tony Gwynn. First ball swinging. And Nagel gets him again. Gwynn is now 1 for 15 against Denny Nagel. We're heading to the 7th. Hermanson is coming in. 2-1 Pirates. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by calcium-rich Tums. Tums helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium. Sunday Night Baseball from San Diego. Pirates 2, Padres 1. We head into the late innings now, and there's a new pitcher into the ball game for the Padres, who enters the fray with a 1-run deficit. It is Dustin Hermanson. We're trying to keep the radar gun on him because this guy throws hard. Jay Bell leads it off, taking ball 1. Orlando Merced and Jeff King will follow. Hermanson's pitched very well since coming up. Just a lazy fly to Tony Gwynn, and Bell is now 0 for 3. 1 gone. Well, there's Andy Bennis. He went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, 7 hits, had 6 strikeouts, and he cannot win this game. He departs trailing 2-1. It was his 6th start of the year, and he is still winless. And remember, going back to early September of '93, he has been 6-22. So it's got to be a kind of a bitter feeling for Bennis not to get the win tonight.
Yes.
In what was described by his own manager as a big ball game for the Padres. Hermanson 93 miles an hour. We're getting him pretty steadily at that on the jugs gun. Orlando Merced has walked and twice has singled, and he's lifted his average to 311. He and the 4th place hitter Jeff King have been on every time tonight, and they continue that. Merced reaches for the 4th consecutive time with 3 hits and a walk. Now King will come up, who has 2 hits and a walk.
Merced is just a good hitter. In fact, he doesn't hit a lot of fly balls. He stays on top of the ball, hits line drives and ground balls. Pretty good, just a good hitter.
Dustin Hermanson was drafted in June of last year. He's just been out of college for less than a year. Went to Kent University. Way outside. He's from Springfield, Ohio. Last year, after he was drafted, he went to Wichita in Double-A ball, pitched 21 innings there, and had 30 strikeouts with 6 walks.
Pretty good ratio.
So you know what they did? They promoted him. You think that was a tough decision? His earned run average at Wichita, .43. But he didn't do as well at Las Vegas when he went up there in just a few games. Started this year at Las Vegas. And then they brought him up on May the 8th, less than 2 weeks ago. At Las Vegas, he had 5 saves. And he is the first player from last year's June draft to reach the major leagues. That fastball has some action on it, too, there.
Yeah, so he throws a heavy ball, John. By that, it means it bores into the right-handed hitters, sinks down and in.
Jeff King drove in a run back in the third. He's got 24 RBIs for the year now. Third in the National League in that category. 2-1. He took a little something off that one. 87 miles an hour. 2-1 the count. Hermanson has won 3 games. He's been sent a good luck charm. He's pitched well. He's come into a lot of games when they've been trailing, and they've come back to win. 3-0 for Hermanson in only 6 games. And the slider misses. So they're kind of like games like this. He's come in behind, and he's held them, and they've come back to win it. Mark Johnson is on deck. Jeff King, the cleanup hitter. 3-1 the count. There goes the runner. It is ball 4. Well, they have both been on base 4 times. That means 8 times Merced and King have been aboard. And every time Mark Johnson has batted, they have both been on base. But look, Joe, at what he's done in those at-bats.
Well, he pops up to third baseman in the first. He strikes out in the third. And he strikes out again in the fifth on a high fastball from Andy Bennis.
Well, we'll see some more heat here from Dustin Hermanson, but at least Hermanson, like himself, is a young guy. Bennis, of course, been around for a long time. 2 men on, 1 man out. So far, Johnson has really hurt the Pirates. Of course, he's only hitting 156. He has 7 hits in 45 at-bats. He does have 3 home runs. I mean, he is big and strong. Former quarterback out of Dartmouth. Well, maybe Mark Parent will be hitting 5th next game, Joe. Mark Parent has a double and a home run tonight. Now here comes the Padres pitching coach out to the mound. Coming up tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Coverage of the NHL Eastern Conference playoffs on ESPN. The defending champion Rangers meeting the Philadelphia Flyers. Also beginning at 7:30, it's the Devils and Penguins over on ESPN 2. That's the Rangers and Flyers on ESPN. The Devils and Penguins on ESPN 2, both tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. Penguins defeated the Devils 3-2 last night. They lead that series 1-0. Back to action now, and Johnson with a swinging strike ended his 2-1. Sonny Siebert having finished his conversation. Padres pitching coach with that man, Dustin Hermanson. Hermanson 6 feet 2 inches tall, facing Johnson, who's 6'4", and he's trying to hit it a mile here. 2 on, 1 out. 92-mile-an-hour fastball that misses. Well, it's 3-1. Orlando Merced, 3 singles and a walk at second base. Jeff King, 2 singles and 2 walks at first base. Mark Johnson, 0 for 3, trying to make something happen.
He doesn't get cheated, I'll give him that. He takes a good swing and he attacks the ball. And that's what you really want in a young hitter, especially a guy that's strong as Johnson is. You do not want him up there taking pitches, and he does attack the ball.
Mark Johnson, psychology degree from Dartmouth. When he came out of college, he had a job all lined up on Wall Street as an investment banker. But he wanted to play ball. Now here he is in the show.
I don't think they'll be running.
Foul back. They were not running. Kind of risky with Johnson at the plate.
Yeah, a guy struck out twice in this ball game. Again, those strikeouts came against Andy Bennis, but he is a free swinger. And with a left-handed hitter up at the plate, you give the catcher a real good and easy shot to throw out the runner from second. He has a clear view of third base.
3-2. Popped up. Foul ground. Caminiti had a long run for it. Can't get it. He had pulled up thinking he was there, and he wasn't. Well, the wind may have blown that one. No error in the play, just scored as a no play.
Well, you see Caminiti thinks he has it right there. Now all of a sudden, no, I don't have it. Kind of moves away from him. And right over his shoulder.
That's another thing you didn't have to worry about in the Astrodome. Wind,
Yeah.
The wind very often just doesn't blow there at all. In fact, I don't think it's blown for, what, 30-something years now, yeah.
Not since 1965.
Well, he walked it. So Hermanson with the walk, and that has loaded the bases for Steve Pegues. So there is Siebert on the left, Bochy, the manager, on the right. And the young phenom has gotten himself into all kinds of trouble here. And now Dave Clark is going to come out of the dugout and pinch hit. Dave Clark. He's hitting .375 and is 4 for 6 as a pinch hitter. Bases loaded. Big moment of the game. That is foul on the third base side. Pirates are 21 for 51 with their pinch hitters, 4-12. But the Rockies, at least for average, have been a little bit better. That's 21 pinch hits for the Pirates in their first 22 games. That's outstanding. Dave Clark, bases loaded, 1 out. When sinking a little bit, too low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Bases loaded, you saw Merced at third. There's King at second, and Mark Johnson at first. The infield playing Clark to pull the ball, and they're looking for the double play. Dave Clark. Outside, 2-1.
Well, he's throwing hard. He's just getting a lot of movement on his pitches. And they're just off the plate inside, just off the plate outside.
Hermanson behind in the count. Now it is 3-1. He's run out of room here. Nowhere to put him with the bases loaded. It's 3-1, and Dave Clark showed himself to be a pretty good hitter. Hit .296 last year for the Pirates. Got a pretty good quick bat. Former boxer. Strike called on the outside. Well, he got it in there without grooving it.
Well, that was the whole point. A lot of young pitchers with the bases loaded will take a little off their pitches to throw strikes. He didn't do that there, and he better not do it here. Sometimes you're better off walking a guy than to groove one with the bases loaded.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. Foul.
And he made a good pitch there. That was a strike. And Clark just barely got a piece of it. 93 miles an hour on the fastball. There's Bruce Bochy, first-year manager of the San Diego Padres.
First-year big leaguer Dustin Hermanson trying to get out of a big jam. Bryce Flory warming up in the bullpen. 3-2 pitch. He walked him. And that'll bring Merced home. It's the third consecutive walk allowed by Hermanson. It is 3-1 now for the Pirates. And that's going to do it for Hermanson. Bochy comes out, and Flory will be brought into the game. 3-1 Pirates with Mark Parent coming up. We'll be back. 3-1, the Pirates lead the Padres, and that new pitcher celebrating his 25th birthday today is Bryce Flory from Charleston, South Carolina. It comes out with the base loaded and 1 out. Been an 8-ball game so far this year, and there are his numbers. Given up a couple of home runs, and he has been wild. He's walked 10 in 10 2/3 innings.
He also wanted me to say happy birthday to his brother. He's got a twin brother, Brian.
Well, happy birthday
to both.
to the Flory twins.
Yeah.
Well, here's Mark Parent. He's been the big slugger tonight. This was back in the 6th inning against Bennis. Well, just a line shot over the palm tree. I tell you, if you hit it over the palm tree, that's a pretty good shot.
That's a pretty good shot over any palm tree, wherever it may be.
He cleared the coconut tree. Parent also has a double, and he is 2 for 3. Now he's got the bases loaded. First time he's batted with somebody aboard. Well, that'll get one of them home, I think. Let's see. Throw home. Not in time. Coming in to score is King. Johnson to third, Clark to second, and now it is 4-1 for the Pirates. This guy's got some action on his sinker here.
Well, he threw it low. We'll have to take another look to see. They call it a wild pitch. There you see the runner, King, moving down the line, and he beats the throwback. Well, that ball should not have been a wild pitch. It looked more like a pass ball to me.
Yeah, should have been caught.
Yeah, ball definitely should have been caught.
So Brian Johnson couldn't handle it. Now runners at second and third. The infield will come in. 2 runs in for the Pirates. They lead 4-1. Johnson at third, Clark at second. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The problem you have, John, is none of these young pitchers are throwing hard, and the ball has so much movement. It's very difficult for a catcher to handle it. See, that ball just had so much movement on it. The movement actually fooled Brian. And the throw to the plate's not in time.
Now, those box seats are so close behind the plate. You'll get that a lot here, I would guess. That ricochet will come back. Atlanta's like that. Ball comes back a lot. Way outside. This time, Johnson was able to save it. 2-1. Well, we saw Fleury's numbers. He'd walked 10 in 10 2/3 innings this year, so he tends to be wild. Well, they're still going with the wild pitch in that call, Joe, but should have been caught.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was a wicked pitch.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy pitch to catch, but
bases loaded, you got to catch that one. Well,
or block it like that.
Yeah.
He blocked that one.
Great job there.
Yeah, very good job. Well, they have first base open, so they're trying to be very careful, of course, to Mark Parent. And it's obvious that he handled Bennis's fastball, so they feel like that he can handle Fleury's fastball, so they're going with the slider, and again, that ball's in the dirt. Good play there by Brian Johnson.
There's the runner at third, Johnson, Mark Johnson, and Dave Clark, the runner at second. Mark Parent hitting .327 at the plate.
The infield is halfway, which is maybe a step or two closer than you'd have to play, because you have Johnson at runner at third is not that swift, and you have a runner at the plate.
Look out.
It doesn't run that well.
Well, Fleury didn't seem to have much of an idea where it's going.
That is 4 bases on balls in a row issued by the Padre pitchers. You see the target by Johnson, and he misses it by about 4 feet. And Sonny Siebert takes another stroll to the mound, but no one's warming up, so I'm not sure. He's not going to be able to take the pitcher out right away.
Willie Blair is up. Well, that's 8 walks allowed by Padres pitching in this game. Plus the 8 hits for the Pirates. They put 16 men on base in this game. And so far, they've only scored 4. So when you take all of that into consideration, Padres are actually kind of lucky to be even this close. But right now, the Pirates are threatening to break it open here in the 7th. They cannot afford to get any further behind. And as Joe mentioned, 4 straight walks. Carlos Garcia. Yeah, they helped him out. If you're a manager, does that drive you nuts? That you can't throw a strike and
the first thing you do is chase one low and away.
Swings at a pitch is almost a wild pitch.
Well, it's obvious that Garcia felt that since he'd walked a couple of this hitter, he was looking for a fastball. And that's 2 sliders in a row.
1 ball, 1 strike. Garcia 1 for 3 in the game. Nagel on deck. The Pirate bullpen is busy, though, as Jim Leland looks on. Been a pretty good trip for Leland's Pirates. They had won 4 in a row until last night. To the right side, not hit hard enough for a double play. And Reed, who wanted to go to second, but had a hard time holding onto that ball, got the 1 runner as Johnson comes in to score. Clark to third, Parent to second. Carlos Garcia out, but he gets a run batted in. 5-1 Pittsburgh.
Well, it's a tough play. The balls are bouncing erratically here. That's a high chopper, and he comes in. He gets it on the short hop, but he gets it in the end of his glove, and he decides I better make sure of 1, so he takes Garcia at first base.
So now Denny Nagel will bat. Runners at second and third, 2 down. 3 runs in. Strike 1. Mike Dyer has been loosening up in the Pirates bullpen. All of the runs in this inning charged to Dustin Hermanson, who had given up only 1 run in his big league career before tonight. He'd also had only walked 2 before tonight. There's Dyer in the bullpen.
Maybe you're bad luck for the kid.
Well, where were you when we saw him the first time? Caught at short by Cedeno. Nagel almost picked up a couple of RBIs there. Well, the Pirates get 3. Now Nagel's got a big lead. It is 5-1 Pittsburgh going to the last of the 7th. Eddie Williams, Ken Caminiti, and Mel Nieves coming up.
Back in our Sunday Night Baseball studios, tonight's Kellogg's K-Factor, Tony Gwynn. The last Padre to make it out, not by a strikeout. He never strikes out. Ian Baerga with 2 each and 91 at bats. Win 0 for 2 in this game. Baerga had 2 home runs today for the Indians in a win. John, Joe?
All right, Mark, thank you. And Baerga, what a start he has had to that year. Of course, he's one of about 8 guys in the Cleveland lineup who have had incredible starts. Here is Denny Nagel, who has been most impressive tonight, facing Eddie Williams, the cleanup hitter, who was grounded to second and grounded into a double play. He'll be followed by Ken Caminiti and Mel Nieves. And it's a ball, 1-1. Well, now Nagel, for the first time tonight, has something that he has not had the rest of the night. That's a big lead. It is 5-1 for the Pirates. And Nagel, I mean, you have to be impressed with the way he's thrown tonight. I mean, he looks like a cagey left-hander. He's been around a long time. Base hit for Eddie Williams.
Well, that's only the 3rd hit of the ball game that he's given up to the Padres. He did walk 2 in the first inning.
Well, now, one thing about Nagel, Jim Leland has been working his pitchers on a 4-man rotation. They've been going with 3 days rest quite often. Nagel has already won 2 games on this road trip. He beat the Giants in San Francisco. Wednesday, he beat the Dodgers in L.A. Now he's trying to get the California triple. It's a base hit for Caminiti. Stopping at second is Williams. Now remember, last night the Padres got 5 in the bottom of the 9th. They were down 6-4 in the 9th, and they won it on the Biff Roberts grand slam.
And I guarantee you, Jimmy Leland has not forgotten that either. It's a fastball up. I think he's just trying to get it in front of Caminiti, trying to get him to maybe hit a ground ball to shortstop. He lines it over Bell's head in the left center field for a base hit. There's Rick White throwing in the bullpen.
So just in case Nagel loses it all of a sudden here, they'll be ready. Denny Nagel from Frederick, Maryland. And he was involved in a big trade that sent John Smiley to the Minnesota Twins. He and a young outfielder named Midray Cummings came to the Pirates. Nagel is really just now starting to develop into somebody. Looks like he could be a very successful big league pitcher. It's taken a while.
Well, he just made a very good pitch there because he knew that the hitter was looking for a fastball, and he threw him a changeup. And he was out in front.
Now Jason Christensen, a left-hander, has joined Rick White, the right-hander, in the Pirates bullpen. And that's a ball. By the way, just for the record, Joe was there Wednesday when the Pirates played the Dodgers, and Hideo Nomo had the 14 strikeouts. But that was not Nagel who pitched tonight. He had pitched the night before, so he is going on 4 days rest with this start tonight. This could be 2. Bell has it. Garcia 1. Back to first. 2. Double play.
And that's what you want from a pitcher like Nagel, to be able to get you the ground ball when you need it. He just turns this fastball over a little bit on Nieves, and he goes out and tries to pull it and hits a 6-4-3 double play. Now watch, this ball is a sinker down and away. See the catcher reach low and away to get it. Bell to Garcia to Johnson, and now there are 2 down.
2 down, runner at third, and here is Andujar Cedeno. Second double play that Nagel has induced the Padres to hit into tonight. Fastball outside to Cedeno, who twice has grounded a short. And I guess if Nagel's on, he's got the hitters doing what he wants, you'll see a lot of ground balls to short from right-handed hitters against him.
Exactly. Either short or second base. If they try to pull it, you're going to get a lot of ground balls to shortstop.
And that's a foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. 5-1, the Pirates lead the Padres. Pirates had a horrendous homestand. They had 6 games at home before they came out here, and they gave up an average of 9 runs per game. I mean, you don't win too many games when you're giving up that many runs. They blew a fastball by him. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Cedeno. But then they got out here on the coast. They started hitting. The pitching improved, and they've done real well out here.
Well, one of the traits of a young ball club is inconsistency. You know, they're going to be inconsistent as far as hitting and pitching and fielding.
2-2. Well, they went to L.A. They won the last 3 ball games they played at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers, by the way, lost again today. They've lost 6 in a row, starting with those 3 losses to the Pirates.
And the Dodgers have a very good ball club, John. I think they're going to prove to be a big factor in the National League West this year.
2-2 to Cedeno. Runner at third, 2 down. Toward the middle. Bell's got it. Spins. Out at first. Nice play.
He's forgiven for that play he made at third, didn't go to third base on.
And that's the Jay Bell that we've seen so many times over the years. 2 hits but no runs. We're heading to the 8th. Al Martin, Jay Bell, and Orlando Merced are coming up. 5-1 Pirates. Jack Murphy Stadium, the setting for this Sunday Night Baseball telecast. The Pirates lead the Padres 5-1. Top of the 8th coming up. Don't forget Wednesday, a big Wednesday Night Baseball doubleheader. The Atlanta Braves, and they're playing like the Braves again. They won 4 in a row. Dave Justice and the Braves, Ozzie Smith and the Cardinals. Then Cal Ripken and the Orioles take on the Athletics. Ruben Sierra, Mark McGuire, Ricky Henderson and company. That's a big doubleheader on ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball. Got a couple of very fine games there. Cardinals going back home to Busch Stadium. And the Orioles going out to Oakland. As Cal Ripken continues to chase a record that most felt was not breakable. Lou Gehrig's consecutive Ironman record. Rafael Palmeiro's having a great start for the Orioles, by the way. But even his great start, not quite as good as McGuire's. This is Eddie Williams to Flory covering, and Al Martin is retired, out number 1. Martin now 0 for 4 with a walk in this game. Now Jay Bell is coming up. Bell 0 for 3 with a walk. Jay Bell early in his career was with the Twins, but got traded to Cleveland. Then in his first major league at bat with Cleveland, he faced Bert Blyleven, the man that he was traded for, and he homered on the first pitch that he ever saw in the big leagues. Bert Blyleven to Jay Bell, and that's a moment to remember for a young guy. A long time ago for Jay Bell, a couple of lifetimes ago in the big league sense, because he's been around a while since then. He later was traded by Cleveland to the Pirates in March of '89. You know who Cleveland got for him? Felix Fermin. Who, of course, has put together a pretty good career himself.
Yeah, Felix is a very fine shortstop.
Now in Seattle. In Cleveland, it just never happened. I mean, he had that first home run against Blyleven on the first pitch, but in 3 years there, he hit only .223. And he also struggled as a shortstop. He didn't play that well defensively.
There were a lot of questions about his defensive abilities when he first came to Pittsburgh, and he just worked hard and made himself into a good shortstop.
That's a base hit for Jay Bell, his first hit of the game, and he's been needing a hit. His average had fallen to 181. That's the 9th hit for the Pirates. Now the guys that they've just not been able to get out tonight are coming up. Orlando Merced and then Jeff King. The 2 of them have reached base a combined 8 times in this game. 5-1, the Pirates ahead of the Padres. We're in the top of the 8th inning here. Bryce Flory is on the hill, the 3rd San Diego pitcher. And Merced takes a strike. Merced now hitting .323. The Pirates will go home to face Florida, Colorado, and Cincinnati after after tonight's ball game. Florida comes in on Tuesday. Florida, what a terrible start they're having. Well, that's a 4-hit game for Orlando Merced. Gwynn comes up with it. Bell will hold at second.
And they have all been line drives. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard. And watch how level he keeps his swing. Look at that. That's a nice swing.
Third baseman, number 7, Jeff.
Orlando Merced with the first 4-hit game by a Pirate this year. And it also equals his career best. He's never had more than 4 hits in a game. In fact, it's only the second time he's had 4. He had 4 hits against the Reds in 1993. Here's Jeff King, who's got 2 hits and 2 walks. Marlins lost again today to the Braves. They're, what, 5-18 now.
And that's a Marlins team that looked like it was going to be much better with the addition of some free agents.
Merced and King 6 for 6 with 3 walks tonight between them. Jeff King, the leading RBI man for the Pirates as well. Got a chance to pick up another one here. But the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Padres bullpen is busy again. 2 runs scored, which is not very many runs considering how often the 2 of them have been on base. A slider misses. 2-2 to King. King is hitting .325. You look at this Pirates club, they don't have the big stars. Any chance they have to have a decent season. Well, that's a shot to center. It's in there, base hit. Being waved home is Bell, and he will score the second RBI of the game on the 3rd hit of the game for Jeff King, his 25th RBI of the year.
There's a slider, and he just lines it right back up the middle of the diamond.
First baseman, Mark Johnson.
Looks like just a little flat slider. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, that's what it is, a flat slider. And King just lashes in the center field. Now you see Vip Roberts saying, "I got it." He's trying to decoy the runner at 3rd, but the runner still comes in to score.
Willie Blair is up in the bullpen for San Diego as Mark Johnson 0 for 3 with a walk stands in. Johnson has had 2 men on base at least. Well, in fact, exactly 2 men on base every time he's come to the plate tonight. But he has not been able to pad his RBI total. 0 for 3 is averaged down at 156. Merced and King have been the 2 runners every time. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 6-1, the Pirates ahead here in the 8th inning. On the RBI front, Matt Williams of the Giants started the day with 27. Ron Gant of Cincinnati 24. King now has 25. And I don't know how many RBIs, if any, either Gant or Williams had.
I believe the Giants lost 2-1, so he couldn't have had many. They didn't.
Well, they lost, but it was 9-7.
9-7.
Dodgers lost 2-1.
Okay, maybe.
But Matt Williams did not hit a home run today.
I guess you're right. I do need my glasses on. I thought that was at San Francisco.
L.A.
L.A.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, Matt Williams got 2 today, and Ron Gant got 1. Hey, ask and he shall receive from the Sunday Night Baseball crew. It's too low from Flory, and it is 3-2 to Mark Johnson. Set at second, King at first. Run in. And that was quick, wasn't it?
Yes.
Strike 3. And Johnson down on strikes for the 3rd time tonight. He is now 0 for 4. Now, he has batted every time with somebody in scoring position.
Well, I don't know what he's looking for here. That's the fastball. Looks like right over the outside part of the plate. Leora finds the outside corner with strike 3.
Now here is Dave Clark. former boxer. You know, this guy was 26-0 as a Golden Gloves boxer. He grew up in the South, not in Mississippi, but every summer he would spend in Washington, D.C. with his aunt and uncle. And his uncle got him involved in a boxing program. And he found out he was good at it. And he would have had a chance to be in the 1980 United States Olympic boxing team going to Moscow. But, of course, the U.S. ended up boycotting those Olympic Games, which was kind of a huge disappointment for Dave Clark, who had worked awfully hard.
Yeah, I can imagine for a lot of athletes to get ready, you know, work for 4 years or something and then not have a chance to participate.
Grew up in Tupelo, Mississippi. Jody Reed to Cedeno at second, forcing Jeff King, and that's the inning. Another run for the Pirates. They lead it 6-1 as we go to the last of the 8th from San Diego. Six to 1, the Pirates lead the Padres. Last of the 8th inning. Sunday Night Baseball from San Diego. The Padres, who made a dramatic 9th inning comeback last night, but it'd have to be something incredible to do it again tonight against Denny Nagel, who has just been outstanding. 6-1. Nagel and the Pirates out in front as Brian Johnson has a count of 0-1. Johnson has hit a comebacker, and he has flied out to left center. Nagel has not struck out anybody. That's a foul, strike 2. 16 of the 21 outs that he has picked up in this game have been as a result of ground balls, including 2 double play balls that he has gotten. 14 ground balls, 2 of them into double plays. Only 5 outs on balls hit at the end. Fouled straight back. 0-2 the count. 6-1 the Pirates. Pirates kind of breaking this game open here in the late innings with 3 runs 7th and 1 in the 8th. And the Pirates bullpen gets busy again. Now the pitch, fly ball to right. One of those rare fly balls. Caught by Merced, and there is 1 away. Tomorrow night on a close conversation with Pete Rose. And here's a little sampling from that conversation.
You mean Peter Edward?
Yeah.
If you asked me who would be a good one, I think it would be someone with some baseball experience. And maybe I'm off the wall, but I think a guy like Bob Costas would make a good manager. I think a guy like Tom Seaver would make a good commissioner. I think a guy like maybe a Joe Morgan would make a good commissioner.
You're able to hear that entire conversation with Pete Rose on Up Close. 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific with Chris Myers. That's tomorrow on ESPN and re-airing at midnight on the West Coast.
I want to hear that.
John Miller along with Commissioner candidate Pete Rose, Joe Morgan.
Yeah, I want to find out why he put me in that.
Holbert, the pinch hitter, and Mark Johnson, the first baseman. They had a mini convention in front of the mound of that one, and it was Johnson who took charge. And Holbert is quickly retired. You or Bob Costas?
Well, Bob can have that.
Of course, he did say, I think by mistake, Costas for manager, but I think he meant commissioner.
Yeah, I think he meant commissioner.
Well, maybe, though, he meant Costas should be a good manager and you should be the commissioner.
Oh, okay. I'll have to talk to Pete about that.
Here's Bip Roberts now, 1 for 3. The commissioner's job, you get a limo and a private plane.
And a lot of aspirin. A lot of aspirin to go along with it.
Yeah. Joe Morgan for commissioner. Here's the pitch. If you get the job as commissioner and I'm in sort of a travel bind,
okay,
could I use the plane? I'm just giving you something to think about ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm not asking for a commitment. 1 ball and 2 strikes. I mean, if you were commissioner, Joe.
Right. Okay.
Would you go out and make a deal so we could get all of this stuff over with and just play ball for a while?
That sounds like what the next commissioner should do. You're right.
Okay, then you're in there. You got my vote. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count. Bip Roberts has been thrown out on a bunt try. He is singled, but then he got picked off, and he is grounded to second. 1 for 3. Bip hitting .363 for the year. 6-1. The Pirates lead the Padres. Denny Nagel making it look easy. Look at that.
Yes.
That is his first strikeout of the game. We go to the 9th. Mark Parent coming up. 6-1 Pittsburgh. 6-1 Pirates as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Willie Blair has come on to pitch now for San Diego, the 4th Padres pitcher of the game. Blair has not had much success so far this year. Mark Parent, who has had a great deal of success tonight, takes a fastball for a strike. It's 0-1. Parent grounded out in the 2nd, but then in the 4th he doubled. In the 6th inning he launched a home run over the coconut palms, and in the 7th he walked. We were mentioning earlier about Parent and his dad, who grew up as Mark Parent grew up with his dad being a professional athlete. There's a swinging strike, and Mark's dad died a little while back, so kind of a void for Mark. They were pretty close. His dad owned a supermarket when Mark was a kid growing up. Says he remembered getting in high school, getting up at 5 a.m. on Tuesday mornings because they had to unload crates at the supermarket. Andujar Cedeno throws out Mark Parent. 1 away in the 9th inning. Pittsburgh Pirates. They're having a very fine game tonight, a fine road trip. But remember the days of Bonilla, Bonds, Drabek. Well, Bonilla left as a free agent in '91. Bonds, 92. Drabek, 92. And of course, Drabek, man, what a reliable pitcher he was. He was the ace of the staff. Andy Van Slyke, well, they signed him.
Yes.
They didn't sign Bonilla, Bonds, or Drabek, but they signed Van Slyke.
It may be a case, John, if they didn't spend their money wise enough. I'm not saying that they did wrong by keeping Van Slyke, but maybe if they would have made these deals with some of these players earlier, they could have kept a couple more of them. I think they misjudged what the free agent market was going to bear after a while.
It's not to say that Van Slyke was not a very fine player,
right,
and worthy of being signed, but I mean, obviously it was a club saying we don't have much money.
Right. I think they felt like the free agent market was going to go down and not up.
Carlos Garcia drives one into right center. Gwynn has it. Garcia now 1 for 5, 2 down, and Denny Nagel will come up. He has pitched a masterpiece out here tonight. Remember, the Padres came into the game leading the National League in team hitting, 290, and second in the league in runs scored, nearly 5.5 per game. So I mean, this is not a lineup that has been shut down very often, and Nagel has just made it look easy. And his the guy he really looked up to as a kid growing up outside of Baltimore, Scott McGregor. This is so much like a McGregor start. I remember seeing a game once, Joe, in Anaheim when Tommy John was with the Angels, McGregor was with Baltimore. The two of them both pitched complete games. There were 26 hits in the game, and McGregor won it 3-1.
26 hits. Huh? They scattered them out.
He gave up 12 hits, and John gave up 14.
He scattered 14 to 12 hits. Okay. And still only gave up 1 run.
Yeah. John gave up 14, gave up 3 runs. 1-2 the count. Nagel gets it in the air to left center. Look out. The Evis almost overran it. We're going to the bottom of the 9th. Tony Gwynn will get one last shot at Nagel, who's going for the complete game. Pirates 6, Padres 1. Last of the 9th. Last chance for the Padres from Jack Murphy Stadium. Coming up right after the ball game, stay tuned for Sports Center. The Pacers and the Knicks. Could it be that that series is finally over? The NHL playoffs continue in the 2nd round. And a conversation with guy who right now, I guess, is persona non grata in baseball, Darryl Strawberry. Find out about Strawberry's situation. Tony Gwynn will be coming up second in this inning, and of course he had a shot to chase 400 last year, Joe.
Well, he ended up at 394, and we're going to take a look at maybe some of the qualifications you need to hit 400. And Gwynn spits the line drive hitter, the lefty, and the selectiveness at the plate, and he strikes out very rarely. 2 strikeouts in 91 at bats so far this season, so he fits that mold.
He'll be coming up right after Jody Reed. There he is on deck. Jody Reed has walked, been safe in an error by the left fielder Pegues, and he is grounded out to first. 0 for 2 officially for Jody Reed. 6-1 for the Pirates last of the night. Denny Nagel, he's just been magnificent tonight.
John, some of the other guys that may have a chance, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, line drive hitter Baerga fits that, lefty. Switch hitter, he's a switch hitter technically, and he low strikeouts. He's only struck out twice in 91 at bats this year.
Hitting .384 before games today. He hit 2 home runs today.
Here's another young guy with a lot of talent. Line drive hitter Roberto Alomar. He's a switch hitter. He has speed and he bunts and low strikeouts. So he.
That one is hit into left center. Martin out number 1. Gwynn will.
And we're going to take a look at a couple other guys, John, that have a chance. That's Frank Thomas. He hits long line drives, not like the other guys hitting line drives. He's very selective and low strikeouts. Not a lot of speed, and he doesn't bunt. And another thing going against him is that he is a right-handed hitter. And there's Lofton. He has all the qualifications, except he strikes out maybe a little more often than you'd like.
Roberto Alomar, you mentioned, hitting .345 before action today.
And you see Gwynn hitting .352.
Despite having gone 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. 1 for 15 lifetime against Nagel. And a fastball in there for a strike.
And again, I think the reason that he keeps Gwynn off balance very well. There's probably something in his motion that Gwynn doesn't pick the ball up as quickly as he would like. So he ends up having to look for pitches more than he would like. And he's not guessing properly or thinking properly along with Nagel. There you see the 1 for 15.
Sort of a personal battle here for Gwynn. His team down by 5. He'd like to get on base, but he'd like to solve Denny Nagel.
See, that's what Nagel is doing so well. He's throwing him 2 types of fastballs, John. He's throwing that with a good riding fastball right in on the hands. And I think that's where you really have to pitch Tony Gwynn. That's my opinion. And then he takes a little off the fastball and sinks it in there. And then he's throwing a breaking ball away. So he's keeping him honest with the breaking ball away, and then he's coming back inside with 2 different types of fastballs.
2-2. Martin. He's got it. Well, he got a little bit of a late break on that one, but then he caught up to it. Quinn just cannot get a hit against Denny Nagel.
And he got a slider there out over the plate, and he hit it into left center field. Just a good play there by Martin. And you'll watch, this is the slider. Well, no, it isn't. I'll take that back. It's a sinking fastball, or a change, because it wasn't a fastball, it was a changeup. And he lined it into left center field, and Martin on the run makes the catch.
Nice play by Al. Now here is Eddie Williams, 2 down. Denny Nagel trying to do something that no Pirate pitcher has done this year, which is pitch a complete game. Of course, there haven't been many on any staffs that have completed games so far. And that's a ball. Don't forget, now next Sunday we'll see probably Hideo Nomo, Raul Mondesi in the Dodgers, and Mike Piazza is expected back for the weekend series. Moises Alou in the Expos, 7:56 Eastern. And please join us. 7:56. That's when Joe and I come on.
Right.
To tell you why you should watch the game.
Thank you.
The game itself around 8.
We'll follow.
8:01, something like that.
We'll follow after they know what to look for.
But I just can't conceive of anybody tuning in without seeing us tell them why they should tune in. 7:56 for that. Jay Bell. Well, it was fun to watch him try it.
Yes, it was.
Infield single for Eddie Williams. That's his second hit. Only the 5th hit of the game for the Padres. Denny Nagel 1 out away from his 3rd win of the year in his 6th start. And all three of them would have come out here in the West Coast. Here is Ken Caminiti. There's a high fly ball deep to left field at the wall. And the ball game is over.
Great catch.
Dave Clark robbed him of a home run. Took it right out of the coconut tree. Pirates 6, Padres 1. It's a complete game victory. The California triple for Denny Nagel. On the same trip, he beat the Giants, the Dodgers, and now tonight the Padres. The Padres head home having won 5 of their last 6.
Good timing here by Dave Clark. He just times it perfectly, leaps up, and brings it back into the park.
So that does it for San Diego. The Pirates have taken the series from the Padres. We'll see you next Sunday from Montreal, the Dodgers and the Expos. Sports Center next. John Miller for Joe Morgan. Good night, everyone.